Can you share the story of how you started Bosshardt Realty and what inspired you to enter the real estate industry?
Well, I came down here from Madison, Wisconsin, where I had graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a degree in social work, which I was very passionate about. I found out when I got down here that there really weren't any jobs in social work because there really wasn't any money for social services. And so I had a dilemma of what I could do. My parents had a building real estate company in Illinois, northern Illinois. My mother was a realtor, my dad was a builder. And I swore I would never go into real estate because the hours were crazy. We'd be at the dinner table and all of a sudden she'd have to take off. And I never dreamed I would be in it, but I did help her a little bit and, do an open house for her once in a while or something like that. So I decided to get my real estate license. So I went into real estate and I worked for different companies, all male leadership. The thing about real estate down here was that all the leaders of the larger companies were male, but all the realtors were females, unless you were commercial. If you're a commercial realtor, you were male, and you had very stable hours, the 9 to 5 hours. So I guess I started my own company 10 years after I started real estate here, and I kind of took the best of the best, thought I could do better. And I think that real estate, like many other industries in Gainesville, was about 10 years behind Madison and Chicago, where I was from, the Midwest. And so I was always thinking of ways it could be better, like it was up there. So that's how I decided to start my own company, just to have something more professional, more giving back to the community. No real estate company then, hardly now, gives back to the community. And just kind of be more like a real corporation rather than a pop real estate company.
Okay, and what were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a woman entrepreneur in real estate, and how did you overcome them?
Well, definitely the biggest challenge in real estate was being a woman. There was no doubt about it that when I first left the company that I was at to start this company, women were just cheering me on because, women were not treated well. They were treated like servants. The male were the leaders and the CEOs of the companies, and they'd hire all these housewives or trailing spouses, and they would just kind of do whatever they wanted them to do as far as real estate went, make all the rules, and when I did this, they were big cheerleaders for me. I can remember being stopped, on the street by a couple of the realtors that I had worked for. You go, girl, you go, girl. So that was really encouraging to be able to do that because they didn't have it really well. I mean, they didn't have it good back then.
Now I want to ask, who were your biggest influences or mentors along the way, and what lessons did they teach you?
Well, believe it or not, my supporters were men, and they were they were men in the community that were very um, prestigious, you might say. One of my biggest supporters was the publisher of the Gainesville Sun. Um, he was my biggest supporter, and he opened a lot of doors. He would take me places, and he would introduce me and really open different doors for me. And he just really supported women. He had a wife, and he had one daughter at the time, a young daughter. And I think he just was just very supportive. And plus, I was a big client of the paper, big customer of the Gainesville Sun. And I think he appreciated that. I probably was the biggest real estate customer in town, and he really appreciated that. And so he, really did open doors. Another one was the president of the Santa Fe Community College at that time. he was also another big supporter. And, they just seemed to really have incredible respect for me that I did what I did. And he also was very supportive. And every time I'd walk into a room, they'd really, be just so inviting and encouraging. And then the third one was actually Dick Gaitner. He was the CEO of Shands Healthcare at the time. Shands Hospital, it was called at the time. And the three of them just were incredible, supporting me. I think they knew I really worked hard. I do believe and believe then that women that were trying to get ahead and make a name and make a mark did work harder than men. I worked 7 days a week. I never had a day off for years. Um, while everyone was at football games, I was in the office taking calls. I remember the Miami game. People were calling me to buy real estate. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what was happening. And the Parade of Homes, I was there 7 days a week. So I worked really hard. And I believe that women at that time, particularly, worked harder than men. I would probably say that they still do, but I might get challenged, but that's just my opinion. Um, but anyway, so I was really lucky to have these three valuable male supporters who really, really helped push me into being on the path of success.
So, what advice would you give to young women looking to enter the real estate business today?
The advice I give to women entering real estate today is to work hard. You can't enter it like it's a part-time business or a hobby. You've got to go into it like it's a career and not just a hobby or not just a part-time thing. You go into it as a career. You take courses to learn exactly how to become the best you can be in the industry. And when you work hard, I always tell people, you work really hard for 3 years. And then after 3 years, it starts getting easier. You start working by referral, in appointment only, and it does get easier. But you've got to put in those 3 initial years of big grunt work to get to where that point is where you can really say, I've made it.
How do you think women bring a unique perspective or advantage to leadership in real estate?
Well, I think women are really leaders. I think they're smart. I think they think smart. I think they work hard. And I think that they're natural leaders. And, you know, whether they own the company or they work for the company, I don't think, if I were to give advice to people, I would say don't own a real estate company. Be a strong realtor within the company that has a lot of support for you that you can build within that company. Build your own team, build your own business within the company. And doing that, you can go anywhere you want at any time you want, if you want to.
What values have guided you in building and sustaining Bosshardt Realty over the years?
I think the values of integrity, honesty, complete openness, complete disclosure, just really being, honest with people. And another value is I think a company should give back to the community. I think that if we take from the community, we're selling houses, we're making money off people in the community. We should be willing to give back. And over the years, that's exactly what we've done. At this company, I've fostered a environment of giving, whether it be to a client may have a daughter that is selling yearbook ads or a football banner or something, and to raise money, or charities, for heart cancer, whatever. We get into the walks, we get involved, feeding the homeless, St. Francis House. We always as a group get involved, and I think that's really important. I think people look at that.
How do you foster a culture of empowerment and leadership for women within the company?
Well, first of all, I always think that you should be there first thing in the morning before your people come in, and be there at last thing in the day when they leave. I know that's not easy, but that's you need to show leadership. And leadership and empowerment comes from being there, doing the job, having respect. And I think that once you do that, it comes. Also, you need to always be forward thinking. I think people love respect and want to be involved in forward thinking ideas. And I think, we always were on the forward thinking track.
So, what's next for Bosshardt Realty? And how do you see women continuing to shape the future of real estate?
What's next for Bosshardt Realty? Well, that's going to be up to Aaron and Kim. They've got the company now, but they do surround themselves with a team that can help them. They've got wonderful people working, both male and female, with them. And what's next is going to be that they just continue, and I think they are on the same path that I started, and I do have some great women leaders. So I think what's next is just to continue and grow and excel.
If you could give your younger self one piece of advice at the start of your journey, what would it be?
Probably would be not to own a real estate company, but to go in as a realtor building a big team, or maybe not even a big team. It would be going in as a realtor and building a team and not having the headaches of all of the ownership issues, but being a true entrepreneur and building a team of really great realtors.
What does International Women's Month mean to you personally, and how do you hope to see more women breaking barriers in the future?
International Women's Month is very meaningful to me because I've always been a big supporter of women, even though sometimes it's been difficult because I look at women and I see that they don't support each other. So what I would say is women need to support women on the way up. Women need to be involved in women's clubs and really throw themselves into the throes of supporting each other. Once I got to the peak of where I wanted to be, once I got to be respected by everyone for what I'd accomplished, I then met up with other women, not very many, maybe 3 or 4, that had also reached that. And we became great friends, and we talk about things that we can do to move forward and move the women community forward. But until women come together and support each other, I'm just worried that it's not going to move forward as far as women being respected for who they are and what they can do. I remember being at a round table at Rotary, and we all sat down and we were all supposed to talk about what our pet peeves were. And I remember Anne Marie, who was the assistant women's athletic director, said, "The one pet peeve I have is women that don't support women." And she went on and on. And I never forgot that. That was like 30 years ago, um, 25 years ago when I was just growing. And that never left me. I think that women need to build within women's clubs and women's uh, groups and try to help each other. We have a women's club here in Gainesville that not very many young women are a part of. It's mostly middle-aged and older women who have been there for years and years. But the young women need to embrace this and come together and support each other. And that's what I think. I think the women at Bosshardt support each other, pretty much so. And I hope that I've fostered that environment where women want to support each other. And being so, doing that support, supporting each other, definitely will make you so much more successful than being adversarial